Good morning. This is Team 5. The project that we're focusing on is the marketing and implementation of the solar microgrid systems. I'm Matthew Benavides.
I'm Joshua Dreisbach.
I'm Colin Farrar.
And I'm Cord Colethel.
A little bit of summary about what we're doing on this project. Our team is going to be responsible for performing the economic analysis on these transportable solar microgrid systems. We're focusing on the cost to produce the product and also who to sell the product to. A little bit of overview for today. We're going to be focusing on the recommended solution, economic analysis, and our next steps. For our recommended solution, our first market focus is going to be the oil field due to the fact of the large number of off-grid working conditions for the drilling locations. Secondly, it's a billion-dollar industry, so many of these large companies have the financial means to purchase a product as vast as this one. And also for the smaller companies, we're going to offer a rental period, whether that be a few weeks or a few months at a cheaper cost, just depending on what the customer really needs out of our product. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Cordell to continue about the market focus.
The next recommended solution really got into was constructions and the construction companies. It's a big growing market. There's always new construction that's being built, infrastructure around cities and stuff like this. And we feel like our product is more kind of a plug and play. It will help these guys that don't have the time to wait on the power companies to hook their lines up and then run power to the construction sites are just being built. For these construction guys, we know they're always on the move and always busy. So we feel like for our recommended solution, we will have to go out and find the consumer or the customer. These guys are not going to have a lot of time. So we feel like we will have to have salesmen to go out and really find our next jobs. And another big benefit we think that will help these construction companies is that our product is easily moved to the next job. The next market focus, we feel like this is probably the biggest one. If we can actually get a contract from them as a government, we feel like we have a tool that they will need and really like and be kind of a universal tool. Just a big problem is we have to get our company name out there and really have to stand out to get these contracts. We feel like we'll have to go to different conventions and anything that we think the government will be at, just to get our name out there, to prove ourselves and show our product off that it will be useful to them and feel like they need to buy it. And now I'll pass it on to Colin.
So we're going to get into the economic analysis, and this slide's going to be our major system costs. So for a shipping container, we went with a 20 by 8, which is probably the best size. Found a watertight, airtight, pretty much hurricane-proof one for $3,000. A roll cage system, this is to better structurally sound, keep that shipping container intact. An EMS is a battery management system. This is pretty much just keeping an eye on all the batteries, making sure they're up to code, or not up to code, up to their full capacity of charge. An HVA system, we went with a mini split system. This is a cheaper system and easier to move around because it can literally stick on the wall and you can control it with a remote. Fire safety, we have 2 ABC type extinguishers and 2 LED detectors. And in this table on the right side, I have labeled all the costs. For the roll cage, $296. The EMS, $45,000. That's quite expensive. HVAC, $1,500. That's probably the cheapest you're going to find for a mini split system. Fire safety, $270. Just some simple extinguishers and detectors. This slide, we're going to go into the internal specs, what's actually inside of the shipping container. So there's 3 modules, or 3 different types of kilowatt hour systems that this can have. We have 100, a 250, and a 500, and each one is going to require a different amount of batteries. The first 100 will require 24 batteries. The second 250 will be 60 batteries, and the third 500, 128 batteries. More batteries, more kilowatt hours. For the wiring, we went with 6 AWG. This is the best. It'll not short out, not cause any fires. So this was $6 per foot, and we needed 370 feet of it, $400. This wire tubing for the protection, it's actually a round structural tubing, so that wire can sit inside and not be exposed to the elements. We needed another 370 foot, and it was 0.86 a foot. So $318, and our source said this is currently skyrocketing to the moon right now. So I would not be surprised if this was over $500 pretty soon. The plywood sheeting, we're going to use this for the inside insulation and to drill structure stuff into the braces. It's a 1/2 inch 4x8 OSB plywood that they use for construction, so it's pretty fairly easy to get. And we'll need 24 of them for $31.95 a sheet, $770 just for plywood. And the user interface panels and monitors, this is going to be just how you monitor everything and make sure everything is up to date. And this will be $744, and we still do not have pretty good cost for the solar panels. And next, I'm going to pass it on to Josh.
Okay, so I'm kind of going to go over more of the outside cost of how these containers are going to move around and ship out, and kind of go over the total cost of the build for per container. So outside cost, so the storage and equipment at TerraVolt is going to be a huge help to lessen the initial threshold of the price to get in to launch this product. With the equipment that they already have at TerraVolt, we're able to store some containers there and be able to move them around fairly easily. They said they have their own fleet of equipment to be able to move these shipping containers around. So that'll help immensely in terms of cutting down this initial price of being able to launch this product. So the shipping international, that's going to be the major big hit in terms of just launching this product somewhere. So internationally, per container, we're looking at about $2 to $3 grand just to be able to send it on a ship across the ocean to go to the Middle East or somewhere like that, or even Africa or something along those lines, if the company isn't doing it themselves. So this is kind of going to be obviously it's a large price point because it's $2 to $3 grand per container for that. So this isn't included in our total build cost for materials. This is just outside cost of shipping the containers out into the world. But we also have these extra salary positions that are going to have to be taken up in order to execute on the sales side and management side of things for these containers. Sales, that's just going to be men on the ground, pitching the product to different people, whether that's the government, construction companies, or oil companies. These guys are going to be the ones getting their hands dirty, and obviously you're going to need a manager for those guys to kind of tell them exactly where to go and who the target is at that time, or the highest priority target that would be. So the total cost of materials, so basically everything that Colin talked about, all kind of totaled up into one bundle and broken down into the different sizes for the kilowatt hour module. This is going to be how much it costs to produce this product. So all these prices are pre-taxes. So we don't really know exactly how the taxes are going to work with being able to write off certain objects or not write off certain things, or being tax exempt for shipping at different places and that terms of thing. We're still looking into that and trying to figure out exactly how much that'll be. But this is just a great baseline analysis on the minimum cost that this is going to take. So for the 100 kilowatt hour module, we're looking at $123,000. the 250 kilowatt hour module is going to be $218,000, and a 500 kilowatt hour module is going to be $408,000. All these prices are obviously viable to change, like Colin said, especially with the tubing and the roll cage, with the price of steel just skyrocketing right now. It's, right now it's 86 cents a foot, I believe. So that can go up very easily. It's been really tough for us to even just get a price on that, because people are very hesitant to give us a price, because they've told us that the price is going up, and that can change literally week to week. So all this is very much a what's happening right now thing, and over time, depending on the market, these prices can fluctuate up or down. So that's kind of our cost analysis per container on how much it's going to cost. So our next meeting here is going to be April 13th. That's going to be over the risk and implementation plan for this product. If y'all have any questions, Mr. Boyd, please let us know.
Okay, thank you. So that presentation is complete. Let's ask Mr. Boyd if you have any comments or questions, and then we'll go to the peer team.
Just a few. The roll cage, something that that you may or may not be aware of. When we looked at the roll cage, I thought that was an amazing approach to manufacturing the system, because what we can do is actually build the entire METS unit inside the roll cage outside of a shipping container. And the plan is to rollerize it and roll it into the shipping container and either permanently affix it inside, or be able to remove it from the shipping container and put it in an existing building somewhere. Because if you're inside a secure building, you don't need the shipping container. So you actually have two approaches that we can use for this. One would give a discount because the shipping container can be reused and taken somewhere else. Just as a matter of information, the plywood that we use to mount our equipment on is 5/8 to 3/4 inch AB plywood, or BC. So it's a higher grade of plywood. It's denser. It is heavier, but it holds the bolts better, and it's more rigid. So I know it's going to cost more, but that's one of the things that you might want to reprice. And by the way, the roll cage at $296, that may be good for materials, but where's the labor on that? It's going to cost as much or more for the labor than it is for the materials to actually build it. So keep that in mind. If you would send me a reminder offline, and I'll give you the pricing on the solar equipment or the solar panels, and you also have inverters that have to be purchased as well that interface with the batteries.
Yes, sir. I'll send you an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions of me while you have me? If you do, keep them to yourself, because your grade may depend on it. So
I won't say anything.
Okay.
Okay, Russ, it's your turn. Thanks.
Okay,
I appreciate it.
Let me turn it over to Team 7. Go ahead with a couple of questions or comments, please.
Sure, I'll go ahead and start. I had a question for you guys. I think this was specifically on the construction industry portion. You had mentioned that something about relocating these microgrids, having to move them around. Is this something that the company does, or is the client responsible for moving these grids around?
I mean, it's all going to depend. If they buy the container, I mean, it's theirs. They'll have to move it around then. But if it's on a rental basis, I'm sure it'd be something that's be on our part. It's more on a rental basis.
Okay, thank you.
Another thing I'll add on with the rental part. So it would kind of be more of a one event type thing. So they would rent it out for however long at a certain location, and so it wouldn't be moving from that location to another location. So we know exactly where to go back to. It wouldn't be we're going to East Texas and then all of a sudden we got to go to Louisiana to go pick it up. So.
Okay, thank you, Team 7, for those comments. I'm going to let Dr. Castell make her comments and any questions she might have, and then I'll go.
Okay, yeah, good job, very well organized. I had the question that came to my mind the entire presentation is why did you choose those materials? And your client, Mr. Boyd, answered my question saying there's a better plywood to choose. So that was my question the entire presentation. Why do you choose this material? So, and what are the sources of cost? And you keep mentioning that the prices are fluctuating, but it's good to have a reference for that. So that was the question I had. Why? Corday, on your slides, the recommended solution for government, you had a sentence that I did not understand. Yes, will be the tool of many uses. Can you explain that to me? What do you mean by that? I missed that.
I mean, for many for like many uses, they can be used as the military part of that, or they can do like the FEMA side and like help disasters or hurricanes where cities get shut down.
Great, that's great information. I was missing from your slide. Otherwise, I think it was very well organized. I'm looking forward to. I always like to see a drawing, a schematic of the setup. You show a container, but you don't see the different arrangements. I don't know if that's part of your project objectives, but I would have liked to see different options. That's it. So, very good.
Thanks, Dr. Castell. Okay, 13 minutes long. I appreciate you guys getting right on it and being ready to go and being brief with your brief and succinct with your remarks. You all got to present. Although Colin and Josh had most of the time, Matthew and Cordell had some as well. I have some questions. First of all, it's not really clear to me specifically what is the recommended solution. Let me ask Matthew, can you tell me in just like 30 seconds, what is the recommended solution? I mean, I saw 3 different marketing something, but what is the recommended solution?
The recommended solution that we're focusing on is hitting those 3 industries with our product. Those are going to be our top 3 customers. We're assuming.
Anybody have anything to add to that?
Since
I'll add on. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say with this project, it's a little bit different. It's not necessarily product based. It's more market based. So since we're working with the engineering team on this, they've been supplying us numbers and back and forthing with us on what materials they exactly need, and we've been pricing it out for them and kind of going back and forth with this solution. So all the equipment and stuff like that you're seeing on these is from the engineering team, and our solution side of it is who we're marketing it to and how we're distributing it to them.
Okay, yeah, I acknowledge that. I appreciate you guys working with them and coordinating with them. And you found your little niche. Your part of it is marketing the solution that they're design, and that's a great interaction. So I like that. But let me go to Matthew. Let me go to your first slide. Oil field recommended solution. Oil field. So I've got 3 bullets here: off-grid working conditions, billion-dollar industry, rental period. Yeah. So those are characteristics of what makes the oil field a good market. But you're not really telling me how you're going to market to them. So I'm kind of looking for a little bit more. In other words, what you can't do to your client is you just can't say, hey, Mr. Boyd, we spent a lot of time on this, and we feel like the best 3 places for you to market this is the oil field, the government, and whatever else. So you go figure out how you're going to market to them. You see what I'm saying? You can't tell him that. You've got to give him
Yes,
a
sir.
little bit more instead of, hey, here's some good places to try to go sell this thing, so good luck. You got to tell him a little bit more how he's going to do that. So perhaps you're going to do that in the next presentation with the implementation plan.
Yes, sir.
Little hint, I'm kind of looking to see that really fleshed out there, okay?
Okay.
So I felt like this was a little bit vague in terms of the recommended solution. Let's see here. Let's go to the economic analysis, table 1. Table 1, supply cost. Is shipping container is not a supply cost. That's a component. So I'm a little bit, I have some issue with the title of your table. These are component costs, not supply costs. Supply has to do with like logistics and what it may be, transportation, what it costs to get me there. But
Yeah.
I think this would be more appropriately titled component costs.
Yeah, I had them both the tables listed in one, and I split them up. I forgot to change it.
And another thing, there's no total here. I'm kind of don't make the client or the professor have to add them up and figure out what the total is themselves. Okay. So one more row at the bottom, total, would have been handy. Am I missing something? I mean, is there more to this? Why didn't you total this up for me?
I mean, the total is for all the supplies at the very end.
It's on the last slide. It's right
this
there.
slide
Yeah.
broken down into the 3 parts.
But it's on the last slide. It's not on. So it's a little bit wonky.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of that word. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, go back.
Yeah.
Go back to that table 1. Here's another thing. This is a little slideology here. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to have text, a table, and a picture. That's pretty good. But let me ask you, why do I have the text over here? Major system costs, shipping container, roll cage, EMS. This information is repeated again in the table. So I would recommend, you don't really need this. You're duplicating. So I would probably just embed this into your table, and that way it's not so busy. And the same is true with your next slide. Go to the outside cost. All right, this is the slide that I really didn't like very much, because there's really this slide is not very. There's no unity here. Outside cost, storage and equipment at Teravolt, shipping internationally. So that's a shipping cost. By the way, I think $3,000 to ship a big container to Africa for $3,000. That's a bargain. I don't know where you got that, but woohoo! That's a good deal. If that's really the cost, that's amazing to me. They're able to pull that off. But then extra salary positions, you don't really. So the shipping internationally, that's a cost per unit. The salary positions, that's an annual cost. Is that 1 person, 2 people? You didn't really flesh that out. And then in a whole nother, here's the break in unity. In a whole nother thought, you've got table 3, overall cost of materials, that are not really related to the above information. See what I mean? So I'd have probably broken this out into 2 slides. But here's the real question here. So if I'm the client and I want to know, what do I need to tell a potential customer? What is the cost to ship a 500 kilowatt module? What's the total cost? So all I have here is the cost of the materials. I want to know about shipping and overhead, like the salary. There's not one answer. Again, you're making me have to figure that out. So here's my question: Does $408,000 include this or not?
No, sir. The $408,000 is just the amount of materials, or the cost of materials needed to create that box or container.
Okay, so it's not really fully developed, is what I'm saying. All of these costs are going to be to the client, and you need to tell him. He's counting on you to tell him what is the bottom line price of this thing that I need to market it to the government or to the oil industry. Okay, so you need to integrate this a little bit better. You mentioned some price fluctuations, and I realized that the cost of building materials is skyrocketing. But when you use a term like skyrocketing, that's a pretty vague term. What we want you to do is give us a range of like right now the base price is this, or a year ago it was this. Now it's 3 times that. Give us the amount, and it's possible it could go up another 3 times. So try not to use a qualifying term. Use more quantification. And in your risk analysis, this is where you're really going to need to pin this down. One of your risks, I'm kind of telling you the answer ahead here, is your price risk because of the fluctuations. So you need to tell your client what the range of prices might be. You may be making some assumptions, but you've got to put some numbers there that are based in some sort of educated assumption. Okay. Yeah, so this presentation, I didn't feel like it was very well integrated because of some of the things I've mentioned, but you've definitely done some work. But the purpose of this class is to teach you how to communicate that work. So hopefully my critique to you will help you communicate it better. Let's see, what else did I have here? I think that's about it. Okay, and I'm over time. I'm sorry. Okay, so with that, we're going to have to kill these slides, and let's have table or team 7 bring their slides up. Haas, do you have any more comments? I guess you're kind of done.
Just a real quick one. Are we still there? Yeah. On the economic analysis, okay, what I need to see is the typical, what are my direct costs? What could I expect for a profit based on fair market value, if you know what the fair market value is, and salaries and rental of equipment and warehouse and all that. What a good overhead rate should be applied to the costs of producing these units. On the economic analysis, what is probably the most important is to be able to go to my customer and say, here is the value to you of these units. So that's what would probably be a better approach. The economic analysis, first of all, on producing them, at what point do I get a economies of scale? Okay, it's going to cost me more to produce a half a dozen than it would be to produce a 500,000. So some player is economies of scale, but how is this valuable to my customers? That will help me sell it. Is it worth it to them? That's my comments.